Hi everybody, welcome to Jin's Wall Street News. The S&P Global released last Friday that flash US Composite Purchasing Managers Index rose to 55.3 in November. The U.S. Census Bureau and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development jointly reported Tuesday that sales of new single-family houses in October dropped 17.3% from the previous month. The Federal Reserve released minutes of the Federal Open Market Committee on Tuesday saying, quote, "The average of the survey responses indicated that the model expectation regarding the timing of the end of balance sheet runoff has shifted a bit later to May 2025. 10-year Treasury yield hovers around 4.3%. For the U.S. stocks, S&P 500 rose 0.57% to a new high on Tuesday. According to the S&P Global, the flash U.S. Composite Purchasing Managers Index rose from 54.1 in October to 55.3 in November. The S&P Global said, quote, "Higher activity reflected rising demand, with new orders picking up sharply to register the strongest upturn in business inflows since May 2022, unquote. The S&P Global added, quote, "Growth remained very uneven across the economy, however, with the surge in service sector activity contrasting with the further downturn in manufacturing," unquote. The S&P Global Flash US Services PMI moved up from 55 in October to 57 in November. The S&P Global said, quote, "Firms' expectations of output in the coming year rose to the highest since May 2022, attributed to the prospect of lower interest rates, improved economic growth, and more supportive business policies from the new administration in 2025. The S&P Global Flash US Manufacturing PMI increased from 48.5 in October to 48.8 in November. The S&P Global said, quote, "Signaling a deterioration in business conditions within the goods-producing sector for fifth successive month, but with the rate of deterioration moderating to the slowest since July. For your information, a reading below 50 indicates an overall decrease compared to the previous month. According to the U.S. Census Bureau and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, sales of new single-family houses in October dropped 17.3% from a month ago to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 610,000, down 9.4% on a yearly basis. In addition, the median sales price of new houses sold in October increased from $426,300 in September to $437,300 in October. You can see a sharp decrease in sales of new single-family houses in October, but still higher than the lowest level of $519,000 in July 2022. The Federal Reserve released minutes from the November FOMC meeting on Tuesday saying, quote, "The manager turned first to a review of developments in financial markets. Nominal Treasury yields rose notably over the period. Factors driving the increases in yields included stronger than expected data releases and monetary policy communications that were interpreted as signaling a more gradual pace of policy easing than previously thought." For the U.S. stocks, the minutes said, quote, but equity prices also rose over the period, likely reflecting in part the solid incoming data and consequent lower odds of a weakening in the economic outlook. When it comes to the QT, the minute ad quote, the average of the survey responses indicated that the model expectation regarding the timing of the end of balance sheet runoff has shifted a bit later to May 2025, unquote. 10-year Treasury yields were up and down as the initial jobless claims fell to 213,000 in the week ending November 10th, while the continuing jobless claims jumped to the highest level since November 2021. I think investors seemed to be confused. Then it rose as the existing home sales increased 3.4% in October on a monthly basis. 10-year Treasury yield rebounded last Friday as the S&P Global Flash US Composite PMI rose to 55.3 in November, but it fell to 4.26% on Monday as Scott Bessent, the founder of macro hedge fund Key Square Group, was nominated as the next U.S. Treasury Secretary, and many investors were happy because they think that Scott Bessent will be able to convince the market smoothly about new administration's policies. The yield tried to rebound, but it fell slightly after the Fed minutes indicated the timing of the end of balance sheet runoff. For the U.S. stock market, S&P 500 rose 0.57% and the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 0.28%. Both the S&P 500 and the Dow notched new records on Tuesday. The tech-heavy Nasdaq gained 0.63%. Most of the S&P 500 stocks rose, while the U.S. chip stocks are still struggling, as many investors expect the U.S. GDP growth to slow in the first quarter 2025 because U.S. consumers tend to spend less in the first quarter compared to the holiday season. I already mentioned about the U.S. chip stocks on November 14th. Okay, this is the end of today's news. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.